So a state is essentially a club. How do I become a member of that club? Membership of a state is citizenship. Each state has a sovereign right to decide how people can become its citizens. So each state's law deals with its citizenship separately. However, across the world citizenship laws, some broad principles apply pretty much the same way. Therefore, broadly, there are 5 ways in which a person can become a citizen of a state. The first is birth. If you are born in a state, you have a right to become a citizen of that state. Let's say my parents are citizens of Kenya. If I happen to have been born, say, in Bilaspur, I have a right to become a citizen of India. The second is descent. Some people use the word origin, but our law uses the word descent. If you have descended from citizens of a state, you have a right to become a citizen of that state. In the same example, although I was born in Bilaspur, I also have a right to become a citizen of Kenya because my parents are citizens of Kenya and I descended from Kenyan citizens. However, that is a question for Kenyan domestic law or Kenyan citizenship law to decide, and I'll admit to not knowing any Kenyan law. The third is naturalization. This applies to people who weren't citizens of a state to begin with, but have stayed in the state long enough and have learned enough about that state for the state to accept them as its citizens. In the same example, if my Kenyan parents end up living in Bilaspur for say 25 years, learning the local language and learning about our culture, under the Indian law, they may well be entitled to become citizens of India. So they have become citizens of India by naturalization. That is, they are not natural citizens, they are naturalized citizens. Again, it is for each state's law to decide how you can become a naturalized citizen. The Indian law says that to become a naturalized citizen of India, you must have resided in India for the 12 months immediately preceding your application. You must have resided in India for at least 11 out of the last 14 years before that 12-month period. You should have knowledge of an Indian language. You should be of good character. You shouldn't be a citizen of another country, etc. There's one interesting condition though. Let's assume there's a country called Pangaea. And let's say Pangean law doesn't let Indian citizens become Pangaea's naturalized citizens. In this situation, should Indian law permit Pangean citizens to become naturalized citizens of India? Pangaea doesn't seem to like Indians. Our law thinks not. One of the conditions to become a naturalized citizen of India is that you must not be a citizen of a country that doesn't permit Indian citizens to become its naturalized citizens. International relations are all about reciprocity. Power games. I do one thing for you and you do one thing for me. In the USA, the conditions for naturalization are somewhat similar to those in India, but probably a little stricter. You must have been a permanent resident of the United States for 5 years. You should know something about American history and about the forms of government in the US. You must demonstrate attachment to the US Constitution and be well disposed to the good order of the United States. The fourth is registration. Let's assume that you're entitled to become a citizen of India by naturalization. Do you automatically become a citizen? No. You have to file an application and go through an administrative process to secure your citizenship. That process is registration. Registration and naturalization are closely related. Registration is a somewhat wider term because there are some circumstances in which you can be registered as a citizen of India even if you are not entitled to be a citizen by naturalization. In what other circumstances can you register as a citizen? What if, for example, you were a refugee in your own state? It is possible that a neighbor state may permit you to register as its citizen. In India, for example, you can register as a citizen of India if you marry an Indian citizen and reside in India for a period of 7 years. The fifth is incorporation. Some people call this acquisition. This happens when a person's citizenship changes not because of something he did, but because of something a state did. This happens when a person's citizenship changes because a different state took control over a territory in which he is. This could be where a new state is born. For example, until 1971, residents of Dhaka were ordinarily citizens of Pakistan, but then Bangladesh was born and they then became citizens of Bangladesh. Or it could be that an existing state acquires new territory. This could happen if Russia is able to establish power in some parts of Ukraine. This is called incorporation or acquisition because a state is incorporating new territory into itself, or a state is acquiring territory. So you have become a citizen. So what? Being a citizen confers upon you certain special rights. In India, for example, there are some freedoms which are fundamental rights but only for citizens. That is, for citizens, these freedoms are fundamental rights, but for other non citizens, these freedoms are normal legal rights. For citizens alone, even laws cannot be made to take away these rights. Some such freedoms are the freedom of expression, the freedom to practice any profession, or the freedom to carry on any business. Similarly, as an Indian citizen, you can move in and out of India as and when you like. You can stay in India for as long as you please. But as an Indian citizen, if you go to another state, you can only stay there for as long as that state permits you. So a state has a very strong right to simply ask you to leave its territory if you aren't a citizen of that state. Being a citizen also gives you a home which should take care of you. Let's say you're stuck in a foreign land and war breaks out there. It is likely only your home state which will arrange to take you back. No other state really cares about you as much. Citizenship also permits the law to define your relationship with the government more clearly. Citizens typically have a stronger right to protect themselves against their own government. Now I'm a little worried. What if my government or my state decides that it doesn't like me? Can it simply take away my citizenship and just kick me out? Yes, it can. Under the Indian law, you can choose to give up your citizenship. Your citizenship can also be lost automatically, like if you become a citizen of another state. And there are circumstances in which even the government can take away your citizenship. However, this shouldn't trouble most of us because this government taking away your citizenship can only happen in the case of naturalized citizens. Didn't India recently make some changes to its citizenship law? Thank you.